Artist, faith leader, social engineer, entrepreneur, idea maker, communicator, all these things and more are words that describe the man I'm talking to today, Charles Jenkins. And he literally is someone who's writing songs that are the soundtrack to our lives, our favorite songs, the songs we sing in church, songs we put on when we're feeling up and down. He is putting those songs out there for us. And I'm so glad to have the man himself with me today. Charles Jenkins, I'm so happy to have you. How are you doing today?
Man, I'm fantastic. It's an honor to be with you today.
Awesome. And it's also your birthday today, so I know we're taking some time out just to celebrate that right now. So what have you got planned for today? No, it's a big day, so what have you got planned for today as well?
You know, it's really amazing. Somehow I've ended up having amazing conversations with people like you all day, all over the U.S., wow. Philly, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Chicago, just tons of U.S. cities. And to be hanging out with you today with my UK family, it's a huge honor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I know you used to be in good company because behind you, I can see a picture of you and former President Barack Obama. So I know you're holding me in quite high esteem by saying that. So I appreciate that. Now, like as birthdays come, for me, every year when a birthday comes, I kind of think about what's happened in the past year and what do I want to take away from it. What would you say you take away from the last year of your life moving forward into this new season?
Man, that's really special that you say that, because when I look at birthdays, I look at the life I've lived. That's the past. Mm-hmm. I look at the life I'm living. That's the present. And then I look at the life I want to live. That's the future. So I'm reflective like that also. And, you know, as I think about this last year, you know, one of the things I'm really excited about is just really more aggressively focusing more on what I can do. Looking for my green lights and not fighting my red lights, so to speak, the things that I can do over the things I can't do. And so I'm just really aggressive, particularly in this season, on getting things done and getting them out to the public. I'm calling it, my word right now is rapid fire. Get it done, get it out, on to the next, get it done. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you know, as I look at the previous year, it's been a wild year, an amazing year. And one of the things that I think is so special about this year that I thought about is I don't think I grieved anything or anyone, particularly this past year. And of course, there's some people that I know that passed away, but I was able to see it in the light that we should see it when believers leave. But generally speaking, I don't remember crying this year. In a sad way. Yeah. So I think to look back at a year and say, did I cry this year? I didn't. Like nothing pulled me into, you know, a depth of grief like that. And to have a year when you don't have that, I think that's pretty substantial.
It is.
Yeah.
And on the same theme, in terms of the next year of your life and moving forward, looking forward into the next chapter, what are you looking forward to? What's exciting you about the next year of your life?
You know, I'm really excited. So I'm working on new music. So I'm going to drop a new album in the first quarter, maybe early February. So that's exciting. I plan to do tons of touring in 2023. I have a fashion brand called Positive Air, and I have a design studio in Paris, in Atelier. Wow. And so we're looking forward to dropping that brand next year. I can't wait to get it in the UK.
I can't wait to have it.
We want to spread this positive air everywhere, and it's high end, ready to wear. It's high end casual wear, and you know, it's candles, fragrances for your body and for the room because it's positive air. So, you know, I travel with candles, and so, you know, it's feel good, think good, look good, be good, do good, no negative anything. So I'm excited about that brand. My lead designer is in Paris and has been forecasted to be the top designer of her generation. And so excited about Deborah Morales Acevedo Cocumyac. And so that brand, I am a part of a music team for a movie coming in the spring called Praise This, produced by leading U.S. movie producer Will Packer, starring Beyonce's protege Chloe Bailey, Quavo from the Migos, gospel stars Corinne Hawthorne, Jacqueline Carr, and
Wow.
others. And so I'm excited to be a part of that music team that drops in the spring.
Mhm.
I'm also an executive producer on the Bernie Mac biopic, a famous comedian from Chicago, and we're
Yeah.
making his life story. And just, I'm really excited about, just making art that will hopefully inspire people, encourage people, uplift people.
That sounds like a plethora of things to look forward to in 2023, especially considering I know you've been working on the build up to this. So next year, it feels like a lot of things will come to fruition. I'm looking forward to seeing all that happening.
Thank you. Thank you. Each thing has been a long road. And I think what you said was so profound. Like, people often see the result, but they don't see the pain of the process. And
Yeah.
it's just been grueling and such hard work and racking your brain and learning and figuring things out and burning long hours to get things done. So I'm excited about it too.
I am. I really am. And so you're over here. You're very popular with Premier Gospel listeners. We love your music. Basically, your song "War" and obviously "Awesome" as well. But "War" is like the number one played song here on Premier Gospel, and you've definitely brought something that people want, right? So we've also seen "Never Knew Love," which has been the number one song in Billboard charts for the whole 2022. It's literally the song of the year. So clearly there's a thing that you have about writing songs and doing amazing things with music. So I guess I want to announce to everyone who's listening now, there's a new song for you to fall in love with. Charles Jenkins is back with another great song. Now it came out literally at midnight last night. So you may not have heard it yet, but for those who haven't heard it, can you tell us, Charles, what they can expect from this song?
So let me say a couple things. First of all, let me say thank you to you and Premier Gospel and the entire Premier Gospel family, and shout out to my longtime friend Muiwa and just the entire UK. London is my favorite international city, one of my favorite cities in the world. Of course, I'm a Chicago man in the US, but London is my city. Like, I love London so much, and so the love, the support, in the top my Instagram followers. And it's just crazy, man. I can't wait to get back there and do a whole concert. But for War, just awesome. Just all of the songs. This song is what I'm describing as a throwback traditional gospel music classic. So when you think of some of the forefathers of gospel music, James Cleveland, Thomas Whitfield, Clay Evans, some of I would say the godfathers, even grandfathers of gospel music. I'm making music reminiscent of our history, and I felt like we needed to honor the foundation and put some music in the culture. Big choir anthem, massive choir, sing along, crowd sing along. And the song is called God Be Praised. When you hear it, it's a throwback to the 60s, the 70s. In Chicago, there's a culture where gospel music broadcasts Sunday night. Every church had an announcer, and churches had theme songs, and, everybody sang in mass. And so I wanted to create that, put that in the culture as a tribute to our foundation, and at the same time to introduce another generation to our history and the foundation of our culture, and in celebrating our ancestors. So when you hear it, it sounds throwback. And there are lots of hip hop artists that are going back to the 60s and 70s to sample, old traditional gospel music. And so I wanted to put some stuff in this current space that could be sampled, that you could get that feel. And so people are eating it up. It's called God Be Praised. And it's a celebration of everything that God has done in your life, everything he's been in your life. And I sum it up in 3 words: God be praised.
God be praised. I love it. I was looking at the song, and I was thinking about, people are struggling sometimes with praising God through the circumstances. I know this song is an encouragement to praise God. What would you say to somebody who maybe is struggling right now to actually just put aside the things that aren't going right in their life and actually continue to praise anyway? What would you say to encourage them?
I think the power of gospel music is it's good news. That's what gospel means, good news. And so I think that, when you're experiencing bad news, not just audibly, but visually, physically, you feel it, you don't feel great. I think knowing that it's medication and meditation on the good news is medication for your heart, for your spirit, for your mind. And so I would say for that person, listening to gospel music and embracing good news does not dismiss your pain or your problems. What it does do is it invites and invokes the presence of God to hopefully shift your mindset, shift your mood, and lead you to a place where you can praise God. Right. So I think that would be my approach, and it's my way of thinking.
That's amazing. I love that. I read in your bio on your Instagram, it says like professional smile giver. I can see why you say that about yourself. Definitely. I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that. So talking about the seasons of life and stuff, in the pandemic, you wrote a book called Seasons. For those who haven't heard about it yet, what is the book about and who is it for?
So I'm really excited about the book because I believe it's a message within the book that we don't talk enough about. And that is, very simply, all of our lives are framed in seasons, one big timeline broken up into several different time periods. Any one of us can look at our lives at any different moment, and we can see different happenings that might not be happening now. We can see people who were in our lives that are not in our lives, or people who weren't in our lives that are in our lives now. We can see different hats. We can see different roles. We can see different experiences. And I paint this picture in the book that explains and it describes a mindset that's important for all of us to have. And that is, all of our lives are framed in scenes and segments of time, just like a script, scenes and acts. And as I describe, each season has its own world of things that are happening. And no one season necessarily looks the same. And in the book, I talk about the importance of knowing certain things that are non-negotiables. You have got to know how to hear from God in every season of your life. He is our navigational system to get us through situations to destinations. And so it's critical to know how to hear from God. You got to know how to discover your purpose. You got to know how to discover your calling, and you got to know the difference between calling and purpose. Calling is your invitation to do something. Purpose is the thing you're invited to do, right? So when I was growing up, my mother would say, Chuck, that's my wife, my mom will call me, Chuck, get in this room and clean your room up. Chuck, that's the calling. Get in here and clean this room. That's the purpose, the assignment, the responsibility, the thing that I was supposed to do. So I talk about discerning God's red lights, green lights, yellow lights in life, because sometimes God is saying go. Sometimes God is saying slow down, yellow light, or speed up, as some people speed up when they see yellow light. Sometimes God is saying stop temporarily, or sometimes this chapter is closed. Talk about navigating transition. Talk about reinventing yourself, because sometimes different seasons call for the same you in a different form, or different seasons call for a different version of you. And sometimes you got to have the ability to turn into something else, maybe something you never even knew you could turn into. In the States, and I don't know if you had it in the UK, but in 1984, there was an animated franchise series called Transformers, where these giants had the ability to turn into something else. Y'all had that over there? Yeah. So whether it was Megatron or Optimus Prime or any of these characters, if they needed to turn into a bridge or to a car or to an airplane. And so I think in real life, sometimes we're in different seasons, and we've got to turn into something else so that we can not just be who we're supposed to be, but do what we're supposed to do in each season. And I think the book is for everybody, because not only have I heard amazing testimonies from people in all kinds of veins and lanes, but every one of us, we've got to know how to navigate the varying seasons of life. And I like to say There are all kind of seasons we're in. I list a bunch of different kind of seasons you could be in the book to get your brain going, to help you to think, okay, here's a season I could be in. And then lastly, as I talk about all of the seasons, I always say you must know what season of life you're in. So you know what you are doing, but you also know what you're not doing. Because while often we have a to-do list, we also need a stop doing list.
Wow. I mean, I need to get that book for myself. And it's funny because we're doing a series next year on the show called Reconnecting with God. And one of the things that we're trying to really help people to understand is that when you're going through seasons of your life, although it doesn't seem like there's much input from God in there, the process of you being patient while he's doing the work on you is just as important as him answering your prayer. The process of you being still and just being obedient is just as important as God coming through with the thing he promised you. And I love what you said about the list of things that you to do, not to do, and the fact that the seasons are going to come and they're going to require a different version of you, and sometimes the same version of you in a different form. I love that. I love it. Just as I know you've got a pastor head as well in there going as well. So in terms of that thought process, how would you encourage somebody who's literally right now in that place of being impatient because the season feels like where it's cold here in England right now, right? So it's freezing cold, it's snowing. I have got no coat on. How do I wait in this season until God moved me forward to spring? What would you say to that person who's in that place where they're not where they want to be?
I talk about that in the book. I think all of us have those moments, right? And I think it's important to find your green lights, because sometimes we're so focused on the red lights, what we can't do, we miss the green lights, the things we can do. Mm-hmm. And I think while you're patient for what's next, you have got to find your now. What can I do now? And that might be, you might be in a learning season. And while it's important to always be learning, there's specific seasons sometimes when we are formally, intentionally, constantly consumed with learning, studying, educating. We are focused on, studying people, the what, we're studying who, we're studying models, we're studying strategies. Sometimes you're in a resting season. And I think that's so important, because who has ever heard of that? Mm-hmm. So sometimes God has us in a resting season where we don't have a lot coming at us and our phone is not ringing and we're not overloaded. And it's, just breathe, take a beat, recreate yourself, go for a walk in the park, watch some movies, eat food with some friends, be filled and fueled by people who feed you and lead you and love you. But oftentimes we're in a resting season and we're rushing to look for something to do. And then we find something to do. And then when it's time for a running season, now we're tired because we didn't store up that rest to get ready to run. So I would say to that person who's experiencing impatience, that's natural and that's normal. But I would be prayerful and thoughtful about my green lights while I'm waiting on my red light to turn green, and consider, who do I need to be talking to and who needs to be talking to me? What content should I be consuming for this current context that might prepare me for the future that I don't know I'm not prepared for yet? And last but not least, pray for the grace to wait, to know that God's timing is always the best timing.
Amazing. I love that. Just one more question on the pastoring side of things. I know you retired from pastoring in 2019. I'm a pastor's kid. So I have never known pastors retire like that. My dad's pastor, and I can't see him retiring. I think he'll probably be there until his last day. Not necessarily pastoring the church, but so what's it been like for you going through that transition of being a pastor? I know you studied a lot for that role, to be prepared for it. You did it for a long time. What's changed since then for you now in your life? How does it feel now, not pastoring anymore and kind of being in a new season of your life?
It's mixed emotions. I think it's important for people to know and note that we never stop serving God. but God can give us different roles, responsibilities, and different hats. And most people have no idea what a pastor does. So when you retire from a senior pastor role, people think that you're leaving God. And you're not leaving God. You're leaving a specific role. You're still in the kingdom of God. You still love God. You still love God's people. You still believe in the word of God. You still believe in serving people. But there are different lanes and veins, different roles, different responsibilities. And I think there's some pastors that are called to sit in that seat until they leave. I think that there are others. There are seasons. There are terms. And I said to people when I retired, because I trended on all social media platforms for 2 days when I announced I was leaving. And, I said to people who were asking me, where are you going? You're still young. I started when I was 24 was my first Sunday. Before that, I was in the number 2 seat as the assistant pastor at 21, 23 years in pastoral leadership. I've gone to retirement parties for people in the insurance business who did 20 years, and we celebrated. When I retired, it was like, where's he going and what's wrong? And my response is nothing is wrong. The same God who can give you a green light in whatever lane or vein you're in should always also be able to give you a red light. Nothing has to be wrong. There is a such thing as a finish line, and you don't have to die to cross it. And for me, I felt like I did everything I was supposed to do. I did my best. I was not perfect, but I was very fortunate to be able to serve thousands and thousands of people. And in a senior pastor role, most people don't know that, yes, you're a spiritual leader and you preach and you teach and you baptize and you christen and you marry and you bury and you counsel. But also, as a spiritual leader leading a church, and governmentally, a church is a nonprofit organization that has to be registered with the government. You receive a 501c3 from the IRS. And yes, there is a business side of it, a big business side of it. And a lot of people say that disparagingly. Well, the church is just a business. That's all it is. It's God's business. It's good business. And as a spiritual leader, you're a nonprofit management leader leading God's operation. And it's everything management, staff management, administrative management. It's fiscal management. It's curriculum management. It's social services management. It's facilities management. It's program management. I mean, you're a PK, so you understand, like, the list is so long. External audits, internal audits. It's accounting. It's accounts payable, accounts receivable, depending on how big your place is. At Fellowship in Chicago, we had 100 vendors, companies that we did business with to be able to serve thousands and thousands of people. When people got out of jail, they could come to Fellowship. We could help you get your ID, help you find a job, educationally, programmatically, serving kids in mass, feeding the hungry. I mean, the list is so long, helping people navigate conflict, helping to solve problems in neighborhoods and communities, and being able to fight and advocate for right and just policies to be able to serve our residents in a way that lines up with scripture, right? So, I didn't stop serving God. I handed over the reins of 20 jobs at once. I still share the good news in multiple ways, speaking, music, and other ways. And I still counsel people. But it's been incredible at the same time. It took me some time. It was tough because, of course, you miss the people. Of course, you miss aspects of it. We miss the community of our church. We miss, if there's a crisis in the world, having a platform formally with a group of people where you can help serve and solve. But I'm in another lane, right? I'm in film, I'm in fashion, I'm in music, and, I'm working with politicians and governmental leaders to speak to issues and challenges. But the demand of a pastor and all of the responsibility, honestly, it's just not, the expectations are not human for what a pastor does. Weird people expect you to be all the time, and it's not humanly possible. So that weight is no longer on me. And people say to me, you look lighter and younger, and all that stress has come off of you. And I think some, like I said, should stay till they go to heaven. Some people are supposed to go to heaven from the seat. But other people should pray seriously about, my time, because here's the worst thing you could do. The worst thing you could do is never show up to where you're supposed to be, and or overstay and stay long enough to tear down what you built up. Mm. I'll drink some coffee to that.
Basically, you live long enough to go from being the hero to being the villain, right?
Right. It's like you're going down and you're taking the church down with you.
Yeah. No, I hear that.
Back to seasons.
Yeah. Well, I actually want to ask you, because it's a season of Christmas right now, isn't it? You got the Christmas jumper on, and it's Christmas like in a week and a half time. Yeah. What's it like in the Jenkins household at Christmas time?
It's fun, man. It's fun. Our house is super fun, and you'll hear some of that, in my music, this Never Knew Love house remix, just like we're dancing in that video on YouTube all over the place. My house is TikToks, it's karaoke, it's Monopoly, it's Uno, everybody's cooking, it's movies. We have a giant couch in our family room where the entire family can get on it, and it's onesies and pajamas, and it's all of that. And it's that's an aspect of Christmas that we love so much, because the Bible is about family, right? And friendship and fellowship. And so as we celebrate Jesus being the reason for this season and every season, Jesus is the epitome of family and friendship. And for me, it was important as a dad in my household and as a husband to create an environment where my kids want to be. Mm-hmm. And they want their friends to come. And so it's lots of fun, lots of joy, lots of food. And then on the spiritual side, the kids will give, meditations and share words and thoughts and all of that. But, we love the season, as again, Jesus is at the center of it. But as he's the light of the world, we love going out to look at the Christmas lights. So we'll all pile up in the car and, hot chocolate and just all of that cultural fun stuff, share gifts. And we do a thing with I think we call them gag gifts. Oh, and so everybody will pick somebody. Yeah. So my daughter last year gave my son, who's my daughter, my middle baby, Paris, just turned 18. My son is 13. And Paris, one of them gave each other dog food. And we were like, what in the world? And it was like, cause you my dog. So I get it. So we're looking forward to the gag gifts this Christmas.
I love it. Before we go, where can people find, I know lots of people listen to music every day, but they may not follow you on social media. Where can they find you and keep up to date with what's going on in the world of Charles Jenkins?
You can follow me on Instagram, and the UK is basically in the top 3 of my followers. And so you can push it up to number 1. Nigeria is Lagos is number 4, I think.
Wow.
But you can push it up to number 1. Follow me on Instagram. On Facebook, it's Charles Jenkins Music. And, I really want everybody to go watch the Never Knew Love house music video on YouTube. We're almost at 100,000 views in just a matter of days. And just the joy that comes through the screen. The message is the same, but I wanted to do a little fun, celebratory kind of thing. And, it's literally a picture of friends who were down and needed some uplift. And so, as believers, we can dance too without being vulgar, defaming, defacing, or derogatory. And so I paint that picture of what it looks like to be a believer having fun and there's no sin in it. And so the Never Knew Love house remix, and then God Be Praised, it's everywhere you listen to music. I'm really excited about it.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It's been amazing talking to you, and I'm really looking forward to having you here in the UK, where you can be amongst, obviously, your most, what they're called, fanatic fans here in the UK. We love you here, and obviously there's people here that are really cheering for you. So I'm looking forward to seeing you very soon. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Man, thank you. And let me mention charlesjenkins.com. You can join my mailing list at charlesjenkins.com and keep up. I can't wait to come to the UK. It's my city, man. I love it. I love it. So I can't wait. Love to all of my friends and fans out there.